Alright, so in this video, I'm going to be talking about the drama that's going on with this guy, Jack Murphy. If you don't know who he is, he's this right-wing YouTuber, internet personality, and he goes on, like, Tim Pool's podcast a lot. And he's one of these guys that really promotes, like, masculinity and, like, what it means to be a man. And he sells some membership thing where you can join his group and talk about, like, how to be a man or something like that. Like, this is from his website where you could pay him $100 a month to join this like men's club that he has going on where you can talk about like positive masculinity and shit like that. And I already think it's kind of weird to be paying some guy $100 a month to like learn how to be a man or something. But what makes this even more embarrassing is who this guy Jack Murphy really is. Like, everything he's been promoting here and selling is all a lie pretty much. And this guy exposed himself as being a grifter, and he literally exposed himself. This story is just wild, and it all started to unravel I think like a week or week and a half ago when he was on some like right-wing podcast, and they're reading super chats. So they're reading questions that people paid to ask, and the host reads this question, and this guy just loses it. Like, he flips out at the host and he's like, fuck you, why the fuck would you ever bring this up? And it just gets really awkward. And obviously this guy is really insecure about his past, even though on his website it says something about like how you need to learn to take accountability. But that is the exact opposite of this guy here. Like, he does not want to talk about his past at all, and he has like a temper tantrum when someone brings it up. And he gets mad at the host, who like is just asking a question someone paid to ask. Like, she didn't come up with this question. And I don't think he told anybody that it was off limits, and I don't think anybody knew that he was this sensitive about it. And the fact that he got so worked up, it drew people's attention to it. So the question that this girl asks is about an article that he wrote like 5 years ago about how he likes to be cucked. And if you don't know what that is, it's when you allow your girlfriend or wife to go like sleep with some random guy and like you get off to it, like you think it's hot. So if he just acted normal here and said something like, in my past I was doing crazy shit, now I changed or whatever, like, you just got to play it off, or like just try to justify yourself or something. You can't just flip out and get mad. That's like the worst thing you could do in this situation. And it's just going to cause more people to go read the article and like try to dig up shit from your past, which is exactly what happens. Like, this moment right here, it snowballs into something crazy, and it pretty much destroys this guy's career. All right, so now I'm just going to play the clip where he flips out at the podcast host for asking a question about his cuck article he wrote back in 2015.
Could you please clear up the cuck article you wrote?
I am not going to talk about this.
Okay.
And basically, you know what? Fuck you for bringing this up right here and right now. Why are you doing this to me?
I didn't know that. I didn't know what it was.
Well, just use a little bit of fucking common sense.
Sorry, apologies.
Yeah. Fuck you. Heartfelt.
Elizabeth Harrison says,
it's like this guy doesn't even know how the internet works. If you give that response to that question, then people are going to go dig that shit up, because people are trolls and they know you're triggered by something, so they're going to keep trying to shove it in your face. And I think somebody already did ask him about this article earlier on the show, but he just like played it off and was like, yeah, you know what, that's my past. Like, he did the right thing. But I guess when they brought it up again, he just could not handle it. And it didn't really seem like this girl's bringing it up to embarrass him or make him uncomfortable. Like, she's probably just reading it because some guy paid to have it read. So she's like, I have to read this. And she probably just wasn't thinking about it. And she probably didn't know that he was so insecure about it. And if you're supposed to be this like really tough, masculine, like alpha male guy, you can't get that triggered over a question and then flip out at some girl for asking it. Like, the best thing he could have done here is probably just been upfront about it and gotten it out of the way and been like, yeah, in my past I was up to some freaky shit, but now I'm changed and I'm not into that shit anymore. Or like or justified it in some way, like talked about how it was okay or normal or something. I don't know. He could have just done anything other than what he did and it would have worked out better. Like, he did the worst thing he could have possibly done. And then also after this, I think he just like storms off and tells her to go fuck herself one more time. Like, he gets so angry about this, and obviously this catches everyone's attention. So soon after this, a bunch of right-wing YouTubers start talking about it, and they start turning on this guy, and he eventually gives an apology, and then he goes on Tim Pool's podcast to kind of try to defend himself. And also Tim is defending him too, and he's just acting like, we're above all this drama, like, we don't need to talk about it, like, let's just move on. Even though the article that this guy wrote is pretty gnarly, and it's something that probably should be addressed, and I don't know if you should associate with this guy. Like, he's obviously full of shit. Like, if you get that mad over this question, then you're fake, like, you're not this alpha male that people think you are. And then also, if you're doing this kind of shit like 5 years ago, like, people can change, but this guy did the biggest 180 ever, And it's just hard not to think of this guy as a grifter at this point. So here's a line from his article that's pretty concerning. He says, "I've had sex slaves, little girls, and tied them all up." And then he also talks about sending his girlfriend, who's 15 years younger than him, to go have sex with some dude she met on Tinder. And he also talks about how he has an R-word fantasy. So, I mean, this stuff is pretty concerning, and I don't know if I'd want to associate with this guy. Like, obviously, most of it is, if it's consensual, then he's allowed to do it or whatever. But he also did say something about little girls, which is obviously not a very good look, and there could be some illegal stuff going on there. And also, of course, people dug up a part from Tim Pool's podcast when he was on there, like, I don't know, like 8 months ago, where he's talking about how like guys are attracted to 15-year-olds or something, and how it should be normal for guys to be able to date 15-year-olds. And that's obviously pretty concerning. Like the cucking stuff, you know, if that's something he wants to do, he can go ahead and do it. And I'm not going to like hate on him for just doing that. But it's just like everything together, like this guy seems like he's up to some weird shit. And it's also hard to take somebody that seriously who's talking about being like an alpha male and being really masculine and selling like masculine courses or whatever he does. And then also know that he sends his girlfriend or wife out to go have sex with some random dude. All right, so now I'm going to play a clip of him on Tim Pool's podcast right after he had his meltdown on the other podcast. He went on Tim's because I think they're like really good friends, and he's trying to like explain himself and defend himself, but I don't think it went that well.
So I don't understand why everybody's so white knighting, simping for her. She can stand up for herself. It's resolved. And in my mind, it's done. And to me, this is such a nothing burger in my life.
I feel like if him and Tim were reacting to somebody else who was like insulting some girl and like treating her like that, they would be like taking her defense and be like, wow, this guy's a piece of shit. Why would he talk like that? But of course he's like, oh, why are people simping for her? Why are they white knighting? Like, she can defend herself. And also he's talking about how this isn't a big deal and this is like nothing to him. But obviously it's a big deal. If you get that worked up over something, obviously it's a big deal to you. And this is the internet. If they figure out something that triggers you, they're going to continue to bring it up. Like, I'm sure everyone in the chat was just talking about this. Like, here are some comments from this podcast. This person said, "I love when Jack is on this show. That's when his girlfriend and I can be alone." Another person said, "Jack, I will not comply. I'm sure if your wife's boyfriend told you to get vaccinated, you would." Somebody else said, "Imagine paying $100 a month to be a member of Jack's fraternity. These self-help people that prey on people's emotions and insecurities is just disgusting." So, I mean, people are starting to turn on this guy, and I think he knows it. That's like why he's so sensitive about it. Like, he probably knew if that ever got out, then his career would be over. But honestly, I think the way he handled it just like showed people that this guy is not the person he claims to be. Like, if he just handled this situation like the way he should, like taking accountability, like his website says, then he probably wouldn't be in as much hot water. If he was just more honest about it and like accepted that he did that stuff in the past and he's not ashamed of it, then I feel like it wouldn't have been that big of a problem. And also, this is just the kind of problem you deal with when you're one of these self-help gurus or like motivational people, because you got to prove that you're the person that you claim to be and you're the person that you're promoting and you want other people to be. And even if you're the best self-help guru in the world and you can teach people like anything, people are still going to shit on you. Like, whenever someone's giving you money just for advice or like to teach them some like bullshit like masculinity, people are going to shit on that, and they're going to want to prove that you don't actually believe in what you're promoting and you're not actually following your own rules. Because now if you're somebody that pays this guy, you probably feel like an idiot. I mean, you should have felt like an idiot beforehand, but now you probably think you're getting scammed. All right, so now I'm going to play a little more of Tim's podcast.
I am so focused on so many other bigger, more important things that people chipping and chirping away at me at this are just so annoying. When I block people, it's because you're annoying, dude. It's because you have
we have to
see, like, how the hell do people give this guy money? Like, this guy is so fragile. Like, there's no way he's the kind of person that he promotes. I think right there he's like, you don't bother me, you're just annoying. Like, obviously these people are bothering you. Like, you got insanely bothered by that podcast host just asking you a question. And then this guy will probably go and talk about how people are like way too sensitive nowadays. Like, this guy seems very sensitive, emotional, and unstable. And I'm sure those are all things that he says men shouldn't be. Like, here's another part from Tim's podcast where Jack's talking about how the girl who was interviewing him, who read the question, like crossed a boundary of his.
Because I had set a boundary and she crossed it. And that's part of being a man too, is saying, here's my boundary, please don't cross it. And then she crossed it, and I told her that I didn't like it. Did I use the right words? No. Should I have cursed at her? No. And did I apologize to her for that? Yes.
So he's saying that they set like a boundary and she crossed it, but she claims, and like a lot of other people claim, that he didn't say anything about it. You know, she had no idea that he was like that sensitive about it. And this is an article that he wrote. Like, it was a long time ago, but I'm sure he was still like in his late 30s or 40s. Like, he's a grown adult and he's posting this shit to the internet. So I think it's okay for people to talk about it. And to get so triggered and lash out at somebody for asking you the question, it doesn't seem like you're that confident or like you're that strong. Like, it seems like this thing bothers you quite a bit. Like, it shouldn't be that big of a deal to you. Like, I don't even think she thought it was that big of a deal, or anybody else on the podcast. Like, before this, they said they don't kink shame. Like, they don't care what you do. So, like, he had really no reason to be that sensitive. Like, I think everyone was pretty accepting of it, but he's not. So that's why he got so pissed off. So things got even worse for this guy somehow when people went and dug up some videos he had, like, from a few years ago, where he did some porn, like some homemade porn with his wife or girlfriend or something. And I think he was live streaming it on some website and he's getting paid to do it. So, like, these are videos that are just available on the internet. So it's not like this is some, like, thing that somebody dug up and, like, hacked his computer to find. Like, this is something I think anybody could find. And then big right-wing commentators started talking about it and they started making videos about it. So this guy's career just spiraled out of control ever since he went on that podcast. And that girl asked him about that article he wrote 5 years ago. And I'm sure a lot of people knew about this article, like, way before this podcast. And obviously people brought it up, so they knew about it. But I don't think that many people knew. And when he had that meltdown, then everyone knew. Like, everyone started looking at it. I'm sure people had never even heard of him saw people talking about it on Twitter. So, I mean, this is a good lesson here. Like, if you're insecure about something and you don't like people bringing up something, the last thing you want to do is let them know it. I feel like if he was the real man that he claims to be, he would have just been like, yeah, you know what? I did that shit, whatever. I was having fun. But instead, he threw a temper tantrum and now his career is just pretty much spiraling out of control. I think Tim's like the only person on his side, and I don't even know if he still is. He might just be like, you know what, this guy's too much drama. But I think if this guy just took some time off and tried to get his shit together and maybe just come clean about everything and address everything, and then he came back, then maybe people would start respecting him again. But I don't know, we're just gonna have to wait and see. So that's about it for this video. Make sure you hit that like button, make sure you leave me a comment, let me know what you think about this whole situation, and then hit the subscribe button, and I'll catch you at the next video.